expressed in this show belong to the person expressing them. They do not purport to reflect the opinions or views of Rancher or any other entity.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Coffee and Cloud Native. My name is Adrian Goins, and I am thrilled to be here with you. The purpose of this show is to share with you news and interesting content related to Kubernetes and Cloud Native, and to build a community of people who are interested in using technology to live a better life. It's a minor ambition. If you're watching live, consider following or subscribing to the channel. If you are watching a replay, then please also give the video a thumbs up so the YouTube algorithm shares it with other people. Join the free community site and the Discord server. There are links to that in the video description, or I'll start something scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Live chat happens in Discord with a bot that relays between YouTube and Twitch, so come hang out with us either during the show or after. As you'll see in a moment, the chat is where the real action happens. In fact, who do we have with us today? This is the part where I get to find my chat window. Chat window? Hello? Oh, good morning. So many people here today. Wifebot, good morning. Nuno, hello. Stephen K. Oh, Stephen K says he's not sure if he'll make it today. Mac was here early. Nice. I think I scrolled back too far. What else we have? Code All the Things. Chrysalis, good morning. Rob. Today's kind of a sneaky show. Like, I didn't really promote it. So I'm glad that all of you are here. Angel on Fire. Hello. Stat Clash. Did I already say that? M. Layden. Okay, wow. Lots of people showing up now. I guess y'all got the notification that it started. James P. Hello. Okay, cool. I guess y'all liked my new intro. Rah! We have a lot of stuff to do today. So first of all, just a quick news recap. For some reason, which I will neither explain nor, well, for some reason that I can't explain, but that I'll take. That's what I wanted to say. The internet started working this weekend. Wifebot did a stream for her community, and we're back at where we're back at where we can easily stream in 8 megabits a second, which I know for all of you people who live in the civilized world, you're like, oh my gosh, that's like dial-up speed. But trust me, like last couple of weeks, it's been pretty terrible. I don't know what they did. I talked to a friend of mine. He's like, they probably just found the magic fix it button and they pressed it, but we'll take it. So we're good. Now that I've said that, it'll probably crash. KubeCon is this week. Hey, I'm in focus. That's good. KubeCon is this week. If you are going, fantastic. If you're not going, you can still get tickets for it. It's totally worth going to. There are, and I know it's virtual and it's not the same as a real KubeCon, but I think it's like $75 to go. And there are so many things happening, including a whole track of Meet the Maintainers, where you can actually meet the people who are behind the projects that you use and are interested in, as well as lots of opportunity to learn new things. It's not just about the sponsors, it's about empowering the community to do more with Kubernetes and Cloud Native. So check that out. And then, oh yeah, let me know. I'm concerned that it's like, I might have the focus set to the wrong thing. I'm concerned it's like autofocusing in and out, but whatever. I'm going to work very hard on just not caring. Like, I get so upset when the internet doesn't work or when the focus isn't working or whatever. But you know what? Like, we're just here and we'll just make the best of everything. And with that in mind, I've made some changes to the show format. Previously, the show consisted of me talking about news and content related to Kubernetes and Cloud Native, and then we ended with Tool of the Day. All of that is still here. You'll still get that every single day. But I want this show to be more interactive with the community. So I've changed up how some of those things work, hopefully for the better. News and content is now called the A/B test. If you saw the post on the community site, then you know what that means. But if you didn't, well, I'll explain it. I'll explain it when we get to it. Tool of the Day is still the same thing. Those will happen every single day. Other days will have other things happening, all designed to involve the community more with the show. So for example, we will promote and share positive experiences and things that people post from the community site. That's in a segment called Continuous Inspiration. I have a plan that I haven't tested the technology on yet, but I'm thinking that it will work, where there's a section called the hot seat, where there'll be a quick, like 5-minute giveaway in the live chat, and whoever wins that giveaway gets to join me on Discord voice, and we'll do the A/B test segment together. Yeah, so that's called the hot seat. And I'm even considering doing a live demo of something called Figuring It Out. Well, actually, it's not called Figuring It Out. It's called Yakov's Barbershop. 'Cause, get it? Yak shaving. Where I'll be hurled some random thing that we've discussed earlier in the week or from a previous week, and I've basically got 10 minutes to get as far into deploying it as I can. So just trying to make things more interesting. Nuno got that continuous inspiration is all of these are trying to be like spoofy. Like the A/B test is Adrian and the bot. Continuous inspiration is off of CI from the CI/CD. So it's continuous integration, continuous inspiration, ha ha ha, being all punny. So coming up first in today's show, we have release recap. And in release recap, how many of you use a Mac? And how many of you have tried to use Sidecar on a Mac? And how many of you have found that it just kind of doesn't work? It just crashed. Oh, but I can bring my window back over here. Okay, that's good. I have my iPad Pro, and Sidecar normally works, and then it just randomly doesn't. And I don't even use the Wi-Fi version of it. I have it directly connected with the cable, and for some reason that's still too hard for the Mac to figure out. My Mac thinks it's connected, but I go to drag my mouse over to the iPad, and I'm like frozen over there. Okay. Ooh, what do we got there? We had empty space, and now we don't. Release recap will be a Monday segment where I will just highlight things that were released in the previous week that maybe didn't make it on the show. So the major thing that came out last week is Linkerd 2.9. And that's the only thing I have for today because I'm not super well prepared for this section of the show. Linkerd 2.9 has massive changes for Linkerd. Linkerd already had the claim of being way faster than Istio. I haven't personally validated that, but they have benchmarks that show that that's the case. And now they're apparently even faster because part of their blazing speed was related to the fact that they have a Rust microproxy and you could get, it would just run on a single core. Well, they've expanded that to be multi-core now. And so that makes it multiple times faster, allegedly. They've also got some other great things like zero trust with zero config and on by default mutual TLS, which just seems like a good thing to have. So you've got automatic pod certificate rotation every 24 hours, automatically tying TLS identity to the pod's Kubernetes service account. It's 100% transparent to the application and requires no code changes or developer awareness. I like things that are going that route, where it's like, here's a feature, but you don't have to go and learn a bunch of stuff to use the feature. Linkerd reached out to me, actually not Linkerd, but somebody who's in the community reached out to me a couple of weeks ago and said that this was coming at the end of the month. It ended up being a week late, and it happened to land during the week that I wasn't running shows. So I wanted to put it out there today and let you know that this is out and fast, has ARM support, supports the new Kubernetes service topology feature, and has a bunch of other fantastic stuff. For me personally, I still struggle with the fact that I don't need a service mesh. So, yeah. You may not need to run this. You may not need a service mesh, but if you are using Linkerd, I know Shipwreck is a huge fan of Linkerd. If you are using Linkerd, you probably already know this is happening. If you're looking into service meshes, definitely put Linkerd on the map. Istio is like the big gorilla or whatever that everybody knows and talks about, but it may not be the best for all situations. Linkerd, I've never heard anything bad about. But like all things, try the various options that are available to you and pick the one that is the best for you. Because what's the best for you may not be the best for me, may not be the best for somebody else. Try it and pick. And now we go to, I'm a little nervous about this next section. We're going to go to the A/B test. Dum, dum, dum. Trufflebot is in the live chat. Trufflebot has scored today's candidates from 1 to 5 coffees. corresponding to a 75% to 100% probability of being interesting content. You know what? We need something that indicates what each of these segments are, because otherwise, how do you know when I'm going to switch? So hold on a second. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this differently. Wait for it. Trufflebot is in the live chat and has scored today's content from 1 to 5 copies, corresponding to a 75 to 100% probability of being interesting content. He's going to post these in the live chat channel on Discord, and then we'll view them and discuss them. I know what these are, but I don't know what order he's going to post them in. So they're just going to come randomly up. Viewers and I will also rate them in the live chat channel, and the final rating will be shown when we move to the next item. The total rating for all items shown on the show is used to rate the show itself, and in the future, I'll also use it to refine the machine learning model that figures out what content is new and interesting. What do you say? Hopefully this works. I was testing this all last week, but I haven't actually tested it in the live chat. Let's see if this works. Trufflebot? Hello? Trufflebot was supposed to say that he loaded something. Oh, I hope he's... Oh, that's going to be so lame if he's not working. Is he here? He's totally not here. Oh my gosh. Because I closed him. Oh, that's really funny. So, okay, hold on a second. I had him running in VS Code, and I was right before the show. I was like, oh, I don't need VS Code running. Whoops. Stand by. Okay. Okay, so I'm in a terminal window now. Let me just actually pull the terminal window up and you can see my foolishness. Let's see, split terminal. There we go. Hang on. I'm like shaking. I can't even type. Okay, he should log in. Okay, Trufflebot is logged in. And now what does that give us? If I come back over here to the live chat, say AB load. Oh! All right, the first item that we have is deploying fully functional Gitea on Google Kubernetes Engine. Now, if you're in the live chat, you'll notice that he gave a rating and it's masked. That's so that you can decide if you want to, see the spoiler or if you want to wait until after. That'll be visible at the end. If you want to see it, just click that black box there and you'll see it. If you're watching in YouTube or Twitch, then you probably saw it go across as a bunch of text, but that's okay. Underneath that are numbers 1 through 5. That's your rating. So you click one of those numbers. You can only vote once. If you click on a different number, your vote will be removed from that number. If you want to change your vote, just click the vote that you gave first. It'll remove it and then go click a different one. All right? So, deploying fully functional Gitea on Google Kubernetes Engine. Oops, let's get this bigger. This is an article by a guy who's the CTO at Moon Shuttle. And he went to deploy Gitea and thought he would document how he did it. He has a big caveat at the beginning here that says that, just after I wrote this article, I figured out that I could actually do this via Helm. And he says you should probably do that anyway. But the article is still useful. It talks about how to set up a cluster and how to actually deploy this. You can apply this to pretty much anything that you want to deploy. The article content itself isn't super sophisticated, but it has some nice maps saying, here are the various things that are going on. Anytime you run any kind of Git repository system, whether it's Gitea or, if you ran GitLab, there's another one that I used to run many moons ago in my first tour of duty with Rancher, and I don't remember the name of it, but whatever. If you run any of these things, the problem that you're going to have is actually around the SSH bit, because you're running it on a host that probably is already listening with SSH, and so how do you put port 22 on port 22? Once upon a time, I've also found a solution that allowed you to load balance what that was passed to. And I tried to find it again this morning and I was not able to, but I'll see if I can dig it up for a future show. It was very cool. It meant that you didn't need to run SSH ports on all these different things. And like you see here, he's got it on 2222. However, if you run this and you do put your Git listener on a different SSH port, then you can just edit your SSH config and put the port in the block for that particular host. And then when you run your Git commands or your SSH commands to that particular host name, the SSH daemon the SSH binary will actually pull the right port, and you don't have to try and remember which port you need to talk to. Otherwise, this is a entry-level article on how to deploy an application inside of a Kubernetes environment. It's not specific to Gitea. Honestly, the things that it talks about are just about how to deploy an app. So I will rate that 3. And let's now move to the next one. Now, so this is a little interesting because because there's so much chat happening, if you actually scroll back to his original post, you can see that, and I don't have this up in the window, but you can see that Trufflebot gave it 3 coffees, I gave it 3 coffees, the community gave it 3 coffees. So that's great. Next up, vSphere 7 with Tanzu integrates with HA Proxy for load balancing enterprise-grade Kubernetes. This is not actually new news. If you saw my VMware rant from a couple of weeks ago, it was actually off of this. I'm not going to go on a VMware rant today. This is HA Proxy's actual announcement, not the press release, but more detail about how this was implemented. And it leads to the same thing about, follow the documentation, to that quick start thing, and so on. But what I found that was cool about this is this introduces, well, doesn't introduce, but it talks about the HA Proxy data plane API. If you've ever used HA Proxy, there's a socket that you can use to actually pass commands to HA Proxy. You can actually do all of the configuration without having to edit the config file. You can adjust stuff on the fly and make changes. But the data plane API moves all that over to a REST API. So you can now make HTTP style calls instead of having to get on there and run socket commands, which was a huge pain in the butt, to talk to HA Proxy. So this introduces the data plane API. Let's jump over to their documentation really quick. And they have a whole thing about how to use it, how to install it, and how to talk to it. So I did not know that this was a thing in HA Proxy now. Although it's listing here for HA Proxy Enterprise, it is actually available in HA Proxy Community, basically anything above HA Proxy 1.9. I'm gonna try and reduce my chat window here so I can see this happening. Peter says I need to go watch that VMware rant. I make no promises. I'm going to try not to go on rants because I don't like the way that I feel afterwards. Oh, but okay. So let's see. Where did that go? I'm going to give that data plane API. Interesting. I'll give that 3. And let's move to the next one. How did that get scored? Okay. So Trufflebot gave it 2. Community and I gave it 3. Very cool. Next up, monitoring, reducing, and optimizing your costs. Ooh, let's make that really big. Applying workload right sizing. So this is about requests and limits. This is an article from Magalix. Okay. We like Magalix. We had Magalix on in the KubeCon show that I did back in KubeCon Europe, back in August, whenever that was. And I introduced their service, which is about right-sizing your Kubernetes cluster. They monitor the utilization of the workloads that are running in your cluster. And then they give recommendations for how you can adjust requests and limits. But they have other optimizers, and they have another word for them. They have other things that monitor stuff that can tell you things like, oh, this has no requests and limits, or this is violating policies. And they have a whole policy scripting thing that you can use to create recommendations. That's what it is. So they have optimizers and recommenders. So they have a policy thing where they can set up alerts for things that are violating the policy. And then you can also click a button inside of there that'll go back into the cluster and make the changes for you, so that you don't have to necessarily go back in and edit the manifests directly. So this article probably is coming out in advance of KubeCon. We're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing people, KubeCon, and here's what we're talking about. So I'm hoping that we'll get a lot of really good content out of that this week. Otherwise, this is an introduction into, actually, this is not even an introduction into Magalix. This is an introduction into how to actually configure and, so auto scaling. All right. Auto scaling worker nodes, purchasing commitment savings plans. So it's just an article on how to reduce your costs. We also had KubeCost on a few weeks ago, which is great at calculating your utilization from the cloud provider itself and making recommendations about where you can optimize that. So this, I have to be careful not to look at what the community has rated the thing before making my decision. So there, I have made my decision. All right, we'll do one more. And so it looks like Magalix. So Trufflebot gave it 2. Community and I gave it 3. Community votes are average. So it takes everybody's vote and then calculates the number of people who voted and then produces an average of that, and it's rounded up. Next up, KubeGraph. And this will be the last one before we go to Tool of the Day. KubeGraph. Yet another Kubernetes resource graph generator. If you want to know how the things that you have running in Kubernetes are connected to one another, here's a tool that will do that for you. I prefer tools that actually give a binary. This one gives a Docker container, so that's cool. I find myself less happy with tools that say, yes, to run this, type, go get whatever. I ran that for something a few weeks ago that I wanted to test, and it literally took like an hour and a half to download all of the Go stuff and like build it locally. I'm like, really? You could have just given me a binary I could have downloaded, and it would have saved me a lot of time. It also makes the assumption that everybody understands how to do stuff with Go, and not everybody does. So if you are a project maintainer and you're releasing something, consider that. Consider that if you want more people to use your project, make it easier for them to do so. Otherwise, from what I can tell with this, you basically just run it against a manifest, and it makes pictures and draws how they're connected to one another. And that's good. People respond really well to visual understanding of stuff. I'm going to finish out the A/B test because we need to get to Tool of the Day. So I finish it with I didn't vote on this one. It won't actually let me move to the next item until I vote. How's that, right? It's good to be the bot lord. All right, I have voted. And, looks like there was a bug there. It gave it a rating, even though, you should have waited. Okay, so today's show had an average of 3 coffees. Let's see if we can make it finish again. Yeah, there we go. All right, so it actually recorded my last vote. Dum, dum, dum. Next up, we have Tool of the Day. I know it's not much of a Tool of the Day jingle, but we'll take what we can get. Today's Tool of the Day is a word that I can't pronounce. I'm going to say Catafigio. 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 You say it like Italian. Catafigio. I have no idea what this is. So if you're a project maintainer and you want people to share your project, make it not sound like a dirty word. But what it does is actually pretty cool. Telias says it's Greek. Telias, what does it mean? Dum, 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 dum. We'll wait for Telias to come back with that. Nice GIF, Nuno. So Catafigio discovers Kubernetes objects and continuously saves them as YAML files in a Git repository, providing real-time continuous backups and keeps detailed change history. There's a lot of stuff going on about GitOps. In fact, there were some things that Good job, Whitebot. Whitebot gets a point for distracting me. A lot of stuff coming out about GitOps. There was a thing today that was like, here's how to do stuff with GitOps. And it was kind of like a WikiHow article. It was like, deploy, a GitOps controller, deploy a Git repository. It was really lame. But I was going to show it anyway and use it to talk about GitOps. There's a transition period. And especially I'm finding this with I deploy something using Rancher, and I'm like, well, that just violates the whole GitOps model of doing stuff. Rancher 2.5 makes that a lot easier with Rancher Fleet if you want to pull stuff in, but also with the UI side of things, it's more native Kubernetes. So it's actually easier to just switch to using GitOps instead of deploying stuff through the Rancher UI and using the Rancher UI for monitoring and for deploying secondary applications like Fleet or Helm or whatever. But how do you get from, I already have something deployed, to I want to get this into a Git repository? And I thought that a tool like this would do a nice job of bridging that gap, of making it where I could take the stuff that I already have running and I can get it into a Git repo. Now I've at least got it out there, and then I can work on getting it back. One of the challenges that I have is that I go to deploy things and I need them running. And I ran into this, not kidding. I was going to say, kid you not, but then I paused because kid you not frequently is phrased differently. And I can't say that on the show. So last week I deployed the Oxygen mail server, and I decided to do this in a single node K3s cluster and just use their Docker container and wrote some manifests and pushed it out. But I deployed it via Rancher. And I wanted to do it with GitOps, but I don't have any GitOps infrastructure, and I didn't want to take the time to go and sit down and figure that out when what I really needed to do was deploy a thing. And I run into that model all of the time, where I just need the thing running, and so it's hard for me to take the extra time to automate it, deploy it with Ansible, deploy it with GitOps, do something that makes it repeatable in the future when I just need it running now. I know I'm not the only one who struggles with that, and it's a challenge, but it's important that we recognize that taking the extra time now to do it right will save us time in the future. Eventually, I'm going to have to do it anyway, but now it's actually harder because I already deployed a bunch of stuff and it's in production. So this will allow me to take, in that exact specific case, the manifests for Oxygen, pull them out into a Git repo, and then flip it around and start pulling it back. In the meantime, it provides a model for extracting and backing things up. If you have nothing else doing it, obviously, as they say down here, there are other things that'll do complete backups of your cluster, whether you're backing up etcd itself, whether you're using Stash or Valero or something like that to make backups of manifests and data, and also an option for restoring. Still a cool tool and worthy of being tool of the day. And that's it. We're 1 minute under, but we're going to go over because, I got to do my outro. So that is all for today. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Links to everything that I talk about on the show go up in the free community site at community.cncn.io after the show ends. Come join us. Community members get early access to the links, the video replay, and other exclusive content. It's free to join, and the community is growing every single day. If you have something that you would like for me to consider for the show, for now, you can just hit me up and let me know in a post in the community side or ping me on Discord or Twitter. But I want to get a serverless thing that allows people to make submissions because that'll be a lot easier for all of us. And then it can go right into what Trufflebot figures out. Have a great day, everyone. Keep learning, and I will see you in the next show. Stay caffeinated.